Anyway, the ascent, to the Temple of Thune was a rather difficult one, especially since the entrance to the temple at least was hidden. Its location was fairly well known, all things considered. And in that
Are you
freezing
gonna just
cold,
like blow it up?
we did not have. It was buried in the inside of a mountain, so Joe, and we did have some range of explosive weapons, although on a much, much, much smaller scale than I believe what you are describing. So
Hmm.
no, nothing capable of destroying a mountainside or anything. But anyway, in that freezing cold, I fear that my brave people might have frozen to death before they even reached the entrance and began the fight. Were it not for the you know powerful magic of Myomi, who was another was a court mage of Lysol, and in essence everything that Bracken should have strived to be. She was noble and wise, and although nowhere near as potent with her magic as Bracken himself, she was still quite adept in many ways and was able to use heat spells, in
Hmm.
lieu of fire. Are you yawning? Am I
So,
boring you
so I
with
guess
your?
you could say she was a no, just tired. So I guess you could say she was a hot lady.
I, I
N not funny at all this time.
let us just say that it would be impossible for you to laugh with me. Never mind. All right. Anyway, thanks to Mayumi's assistance, though, they were eventually able to find the entrance and enter the temple itself. It was very, very dark, although torches helped, mitigate this somewhat. And although the bulk of Bracken's forces were away fighting at the battle at Koth City, he had his own honor god, consisting of not only not only normal zombies, but zombies that had been enchanted somehow, I mean, more so than usual, so they were quite resistant to blade and flail. And they also wore armor and carried around heavy weapons that would, ugh, several
So
men.
they were resistant to weapons because they wore armor, or they enchanted on top of the armor.
No, they were enchanted on top of it. Like their flesh itself was resistant to being hewn, from what I understand.
Ah,
Yes, I'm
that
told
makes you
that
wonder why he gave him armor then.
a handful of the warriors perished at the hands of such things. I sadly do not remember their names, and perhaps that is. Never mind. Beyond this, there was the usual complement of skeletons with their archery and their blades. But Bratton also had creatures not corrupted versions of others, but they were created entirely by himself. They were products of his foul sorcery, creatures of fire, and that were.
So he was so deluded about godhood that he created life on his own. Wonderful.
I suppose it was life, if it was whether perhaps it was artificial construct. I do not know, but there were creatures of fire though that was very difficult to engage directly for their bodies burned all but the most potent of blades, and they were able of launching fire at unsuspecting victims.
And I suppose the drought didn't make things any better.
The drought was not terribly relevant, and given that this was they were only used on the inside of the temple itself, they were thankfully not deployed in common battles.
Yeah, but also means you don't have water to bring down with you to fight them off.
So Joe, water was so scarce that there was barely any to drink. We did not spare any to fight off these fire
That's why
creatures.
the drought made things bad. Like if there hadn't been a drought, you could have brought water.
Well, at the same time, though, our people did not know that these creatures existed, so they would not have brought water to, vanquish them to begin with.
Not
As
to
it
begin
is,
with, no, but
well, it was not like we had, the ability to launch more than one attack on this temple, this dark fortress. It was only it was, one last attempt. If we had failed, it would have been over. They did not mount a second assault, for Bratton would have completed his ritual.
It's basically no retreat, no surrender.
One, one last battle, winner take all, as it were. Yes.
Mm.
Now then, where was I? Oh yes, that
Fire monsters.
right. On top of this, the layout of the temple itself was very labyrinth-like. It was, Uncle Ferdinand described being lost more often than not, but obviously it was not mapped out, so the warriors, more often than not, spread out to cover more ground.
So they split up.
Yes.
That was probably the worst plan.
Well, it what, didn't it? What's wrong with that, though?
Well, maybe if they'd stuck together, more of them would be alive, or they wouldn't have gotten lost. Like, you never split the party, dude. Never. That's just asking for someone to get killed.
So, Joe, the place was enormous, and we were running out of time. End of the world, that's a rather major issue, don't you agree?
All the more reason to stick together, though. If it's enormous, you won't be able to find each other, and then he kills you off one by one. I guess you guys are just lucky.
Again, the ritual, Sir Joe. Bracken was on the verge of unleashing the ritual. If we did not find, if they did not find him, I mean, I say we, I refer to my people in general. I was not there, but if they did not find him in time, it would have been the end. So sticking together would have taken far too long, I'm afraid. You know, I myself tend to err on the side of caution, but time was of the essence. Now,
I
as
guess
it,
they're just lucky they didn't all get killed before they made it.
yes, fortune was with us that day, indeed. Now, as it happens, though, Bracken's arrogance became his undoing. You see, over the course of the war, he had collected quite a few, trophies of, arms and armament from notable fallen warriors, and he had stored them throughout the temple.
It's
You know, to,
basically fat loot all throughout the dungeon.
to, if you want to put it as such, yes. So, although the warriors, especially when fighting those fire creatures, their arms and armor were damaged, they were able to replace them as they do, as well as find various magical potions that were able to aid them on their journey. Now, eventually, they discovered that they needed to head down, further down and down into the lower levels of the temple, deep inside the mountain. There, guarded by a whole host of terrible, terrible fire creatures, was Portal, perhaps not unlike the one that you and I used, although it did not transport them to, well, wherever we are now, with its own war raging on around us.